All right, hi everyone. You're welcome to the first episode of the Beginner's Guide to Academic Publishing. In this podcast, we aim to provide students with the skills and knowledge they need to navigate the world of academic publishing. I'm Mohammed, and I'll be your host on this journey. In each episode, we'll be joined by guest speakers, including professors, academics, lecturers, and students alike, to talk about with us or share with us their tips, advice for students on navigating this challenging terrain. We understand that many students from Africa, especially undergrad students, do have a kind of challenge in OC publication as a science rocket. So compared to other developed world where students in undergraduate studies would have published like 2 papers before they even finish. But most of us, including myself, we have our paper even after years we are done with undergrad. So these are some of the reasons why we are starting this podcast to provide students with the skills and knowledge and experience and help them to demystify or clarify to them how they can navigate this journey. So in this episode, we are very glad to have with us our first guest on this show, in person of Ibrahim Hakim, who's a PhD student at the Ahmed University, joining us right away from Australia. Hi today. How are you doing today, Ibrahim?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
We are very, very honored to have you on the podcast with us, and you being our first guest. So to
It's my
start
pleasure.
with, so I will just we just have a few conversations before you present anything you prepare for our viewers. So my first question is just we would like for you to tell us about how your a big background about yourself, how you started your career, where you are in presently, and what the future you look for. Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm more than happy to honor this invitation. So again, my name is Ibrahim Hakim. I'm a final year PhD student at RMIT University here in Melbourne, Australia. I completed my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the Federal University of Technology, Minna in Nigeria. That was in 2016. Between 2017 and 2018, I had my 1 year national service at a university in Nigeria, where I work as a graduate research and teaching assistant in an engineering faculty. Thereafter, I proceeded to the United Kingdom for my master's. Specifically, I moved to University of Bath in 2018 to undertake 1 year MSc degree in sustainable chemical engineering, which I finished in 2019 at the top of my class. And thereafter, from there, I moved straight to Melbourne to start a PhD degree in 2020, specifically March 2020, just before the COVID lockdown generally in Australia. And here I am 3 years later, already writing up my thesis, looking forward to submit in the next couple of months. And I'm waiting for the next opportunity, looking at taking a postdoctoral position with my professor here, as well as I'm looking at other industrial position, which I'm also exploring. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, cool. That's really amazing. Able to move around the world to study from Africa to Europe and to Oceania here in Australia. That's really an amazing journey. So while I was looking out on your profile online, Google Scholar particularly, I able to count about 18 publications to your name. So as a student, that's a great feat that
Thank you.
one should really reckon with. So my other question that follows we be from that. How do you navigate the challenge of or how do you navigate publishing your first paper as a
Mm.
student? What are those challenges you face in publishing your first paper?
Thank you so much. And I think one of the reasons why I decided to honor your invitation was the fact that my first paper happens to be my bachelor's degree project. So which means I can definitely connect and relate to my audience, which are graduate or just recent graduates, and also looking at publishing their work as well. So how do I start? To be sincere, when I first took up the project, I don't have the intention of publishing. But along the line, I felt the quality is worthwhile, and also based on the comment I got from reviewers as well, they have the opinion it's of good quality. So what is this work and why was it worth publishing then? So the whole idea came up when I was doing my internship, and we call it CIVES back in Nigeria. That's a student industrial work experience scheme. So that was my 400 level up in ultimate year before my final year. So I did my IT in a company called Lupcon. So the company produces lubricant from mineral-based oil, where they add some additives to make their lubricant. And beside Lupcon, there's another sister company called Replastico, whereby they make the plastic cans that Lupcon uses for their oil packaging. So I was an IT student based at Replastico, that's the plastic big company. So I was doing my research, I observed that this particular company, we produce 24/7 non-stop to produce cans, the 5-liter cans and 2-liter cans for Lupcon. And Lupcon can stay for like weeks without any production because there was shortage of mineral-based oil, so they cannot produce. And if they produce for one day, our production for 1 week will just be swept off. So I was like wondering, okay, and we generate a lot of plastic waste while I was doing the research, a lot of scraps, unwanted or deformed products, which we call scraps. So a lot of plastic waste. Then I was thinking in my mind, is there a way we can convert this plastic waste into liquid fuel, similar to the mineral-based oil the Lupcon is actually sitting for months waiting to receive? So that was where the whole idea came. I was like, okay, let me just do something. Let me just Google up plastic waste to liquid fuels. And to my utmost surprise, there were a lot of work in that area using pyrolysis just to convert plastics, which is basically the polymer of plastics is from petroleum products.
Yep.
So if you eat it up and you condense the product, you get back the petroleum product in form of liquid fuel, which can be used for a lot of issues. Now, this is really a very interesting field, and when I go back to school, they give us our project research project professor. It was a professor. Then they asked me, do you have anything in mind? Do you have anything you want to do? I said, yes, I think I would like to try this plastic waste to liquid fuel. And he gave me the opportunity, he said, go ahead, please. And because I have that passion and that connection to a problem that I see, that was actually very helpful because I see the problem while I was doing the experiment. I know what I wanted to do and what I intend to get, and the type of quality of oil I hope you can use for lubricants. So that was my driving force, which makes the whole idea very easy. When I was writing up, I know the story, I know the problem, I know the impact I want to achieve in my project. So it was really helpful. That particular scenario that I connect myself with was really helpful when I was writing up my project. And at the end of the day, it was a very busy man. I had little or limited time for me, and I was able to read. I read a lot. And when I submitted to him, he was like, you wrote this by yourself? I said, yes, I did. So this is excellent. This is outstanding. You must publish that. And that was how the whole story changed. And it was a lengthy process, but I persevered and we started to write up the manuscript draft. And finally, we got it out there.
That's really cool. Amazing. I think the major problem in our educational system in Nigeria is actually students are not given the privilege of doing what they really interest them, that really pique their interest. So some lecturer may just give student the a research topic. This is what you'll be doing. So many students don't have any connection with this topic. So even doing the research, talk less of writing, much less of writing, may not really connect well. So that's right. Really amazing to see that one has the privilege, one has the freedom to just explore his own. So even without even publishing, talking of publishing, you enjoy the project yourself because it's something that comes out of your passion. So that's really amazing. So but while you're giving your narration to us, I would like you to dwell more about you writing the manuscript. And do you also involve in the submission process? Maybe your professor include he shows you how he published with the journal or a particular publication, or you just draft the manuscript and he did the rest?
I think I was quite lucky, really, perhaps because I work with an old professor. He's almost at the retiring age. So literally, I was the one driving everything by myself, which was really a good learning experience. At some point in time, I had to consult a junior colleague. He's a lecturer as well, but he's a junior colleague to my professor. I had to bring him on board and take him into the process because, of course, I don't even know what it's like to publish in a journal. And again, when I was writing the manuscript, the first is initially, before even I start the project, I've read a lot about the topic itself, how to convert plastic waste into liquid fuels using pyrolysis technology. So I had an idea of, okay, this is the issue here. Plastic is these are the characterization I need to do. This is the process itself. This is the result we are looking forward to receive. And based on that, when I was writing up the manuscript, it was pretty much easy. But again, when I was writing for like a project format, right? So writing up my introduction, literature review, methodology, result and discussion, conclusion, the 5-chapter format of any typical thesis. So that was the format I had in my mind. It was afterwards we thought, okay, let's make a manuscript out of this. And that's another scenario or board game entirely. So when I was writing up my thesis itself, it was really pretty much straightforward. Literature review has even been completed before I even started the project. The results section was much more easier because I've read a lot about this particular work. I have an idea of what exactly I'm looking forward to. I have an expectation in my mind. So when the results were coming out, I know this is in line, this is not in line. I have to repeat this experiment. It's not making any sense to me. So it was quite easy because I had that connection with it. And I read a lot about that particular topic, and I have a template in my head. I have a template. It's always good to have a template. Okay, this particular work has been published in this paper. Okay, read what are the ways they write, what are the key important issues you need to put into your manuscript. And after my thesis defense, and once we are convinced this is a good work, we need to make a manuscript out of it, it just left everything back to me. Fine, go and make a manuscript out of this. I had no idea what a manuscript is. I had to go back to literature, read about these papers, and I have, okay, fine, I need to just condense my introduction and literature review. I need to condense in a single chapter, then take an abridged version of my methodology. I don't have to report all the full length because there's limitations of words and pages for manuscripts. So I had to go through that process, and after some point in time, I had to bring in someone on board who has published a lot and can guide me through and was able to review my work for me before we submit. And during the submission stage as well, although he made the submission by himself, the only thing he did was just to click on the button, submit. Literally, I did everything, the cover letter and all of those formatting issues that we need in publication. So I did everything. So he clicked on submit. It was the corresponding author, so he submitted on his email. And when the revision came through, I also prepared the revisions and submitted back to him. So I was really involved in the whole process, which actually developed me and my interest in publication. It was really a good experience.
Yes, that's really amazing. So before we move on to another question, still on that question, with my experience interacting with students or even with my own experience as an undergrad student, many undergrad students do have these a kind of intention that, okay, when you are writing a thesis or when you are writing a paper, when you copy and paste directly from a paper, let's say you are writing a project and you copy and paste directly from a paper, so far you reference that particular statement or that particular source, you have not fell into plagiarism. So copying and pasting is something everyone does when writing their thesis. So how do you have any previous knowledge? Maybe your professor have kind of giving you some preliminary knowledge about writing, so that you know that, okay, I'm not copying and pasting. I need to paraphrase. I need to do this. I need to do that.
All right. I think naturally writing can be like a gift to some people. Really, some people have to go to the training to be a good writer, unless some people they are naturally gifted as a good writer. But in any case, a good writer is a good reader. You have to read a lot to be a good writer, because you can't write when you don't have the ideas. And the ideas don't fall from heaven. You need to read, get ideas from there, and set up your own story and write. So when I write, I actually connect with my mind, really. So that's one very, I would say, a gift. So when I write, I have the story in my head and I write. So usually, before I even go to literature and do direct copy and paste, I write down everything I know about that particular subject. I prefer to write that way, then go back to literature to supplement. Rather than starting from there, copy all those information and put directly in my work, I feel at a point in time, I'm going to, whether intentional or unintentional, just do direct lifting or copy pasting, which at the end of the day will make that plagiarism and it's unethical. right? So normally, write something you know about the work. Write everything you know about it in different sections. If it's introduction, if it's two paragraph, write it out there. That's your original thought. Don't worry about the grammatical expression. Don't worry about the mechanical accuracy. Just put it out there as a draft. Move to the methodology. That should be easier, really, because if you have done the work, you know exactly what you did.
You do.
So the only thing we need to consult is, okay, the organization. How do I organize? Which one should come first? Which one should go next? Really? And the result and discussion, which is the most challenging, right? Because that actually you need to read and understand beyond the surface of what you're getting to know what does this means and what does this implies. That part as well, you need to understand why you're doing and be good in fundamentals. So if your fundamentals are really good, I mean your basic chemistry and your basic physics, you should be able to connect A to B and why you're getting C. So it's a whole lot of things put together in writing. So you need to be a good reader. You need to have a very sound fundamentals so that you have less dependence on what others have written, and you have to put yourself away from direct copy and paste and direct lifting. So that's the way I work. At the end of the day, if I need to even consult the literature and I do lifting, it's going to be very minimal because I have my original thought out there already. So I don't really worry about plagiarism, really. I don't worry about it because I know no matter how much they want to do, I cannot have anything above 5%. And it has always been like that.
Oh, that's amazing. So dear viewers, and the key point or the key message from the first question I asked about him now as an undergrad student, when you are just starting out with your thesis or you're starting out on a project, or even you are writing anything you wanted to embark on, once you have the preliminary knowledge, sit down and start writing. So don't wait that until you consume all of the papers or all of the literature in your feed. So start writing what is on your head. So this will also ensure you that you connect the dots together when you later sit down and see, and you later want to write the full manuscript or the full draft. So don't wait till after you are done with the project, or you are just reading what you are not writing. And again, so just to reiterate again, copying and pasting, even if you use 100 sources or you use 100 references for just a particular statement, is still a plagiarism. So that's copying and pasting is not allowed, is unethical in academia. So you paraphrase another method depending on the field of a discipline. So some allows like quotation, maybe in art or social.
It's common in humanities field. Yeah.
But in science, you don't. It's really very rare that you quote, unless maybe you are writing a book, a chapter, or something of such. So that's really cool. So to the next question, what are some of the pressing issues you think the students in Africa and particularly in Nigeria face, and some steps we can take to address them?
Yeah, I'll be frank, and yeah, it's really challenging to conduct research in Nigeria. And personally, I feel researchers in Africa are disprivileged, really, and they are really being unfair to in the whole publication community, really, because once a paper comes to any particular journal, they look at the authorship country, and it's mainly from maybe Nigeria or from Africa. They have this thing in their mind, wow, okay, we need to do a lot of work to verify whether this is of standard, whether this is or not. It's there because they know that these standards are not there, these facilities are not there, and all of those things. So to them, it's been unfair, really. But again, you can't blame them, it's based on experience as well. So as a researcher in Africa or in Nigeria, to be specific, it's a lot of challenge. But again, you need to know how to navigate and know exactly what are the issues and what are the best way to resolve those issues. One of them is your methodology, substandard methods, right? So if you want to publish, you need to put your work in the context of global standard, right? Because publication is not just about, okay, this is Nigeria and it's global standard. So before you do any experiments, when you're developing your methods, look at this particular, go to the literature, what are the acceptable methods in literature, right? So you need to know before you even start so that you not end up wasting your time. Make sure you use close to acceptable standard or methods or instruments, for instance. So you want to do heavy metal analysis. ICP-MS is almost about the acceptable standard. I know it's challenging. Again, you need to be aware of these things. Secondly is research itself, the research project itself, or the topic itself. Most of the work we conduct, I would say, are obsolete, right? Because you have to look at, this is the best I can get with these limited resources. So let me just stick to absorption of heavy metals. And if you go out there, there are about 20 million papers on absorption of heavy metals. So by the time you go through this effort and get out those papers, you want to put it out for submission, like, this topic is already out of date. I mean, there's nothing new again. So the novelty will go out. Another challenge is the duration of the postgraduate programs. When it takes so long on a particular project, before you know, the novelty over time will just keep declining. And at the point you want to put out your work out there, someone has already put out the same idea out. So speed also matters in publication journey. So in all of this, there are real challenges, and we need to find a way around them. The first one, methodology. How do you go around to solving the issue of substandard methodology? It's not about how much you have, it's about how well, right? So make sure no matter how little you have, make sure the methods are standard and reproducible. They are reproducible. I will always emphasize that, really. So don't look about the volume of the work, look about, okay, I want to do this analysis, and always put control. If I thought you even send out your samples to maybe to Zaria from Kwara, you send it to Kaduna, to Sokoto for analysis, and when the result came back to you, you'll be able to fact check that this result actually makes sense because you have blank standard and blank control to compare. For instance, you don't have sodium in your sample, and how come sodium is coming back with your analysis? Yeah. So if you don't know some of these things, this is what they gave to me, this is the result, you just report it out there, and when someone peer review your work, like, no, it doesn't make any sense. There is no connection between this and that. So you yourself should be able to verify your methods and your result before you put it out there. So that's one way to go about the issue of our methods. Issue of duration, unfortunately, there is nothing we can do to duration. It's a matter of working with what the school provides. Usually for postgraduate degrees, I don't think most schools have standard calendar for them. But again, as postgraduate student or graduate student, it's all about you rather than all about your supervisor. So it's more about you and how well you can get it out there. The last part is facilities, really. Just work with what you have. And in fact, it's also not about the quality of the work you have. It's quality of the writing. There are some projects that you will do. 1 million people have done it before. But when you write, the way you write and present new findings from that same work, is to be able to convince an editor that this work is really, there are new information coming out from this same work that we thought is already obsolete or outdated. So when you write, you need to write well and be able to convince the novelty, the real novelty in this work. So the way you write also matters a lot. If you've done a very great job, but you can't communicate your new findings, it's going to be difficult to let us know what exactly this work is all about. So it's all about writing as well. We also help you to navigate the whole challenge in African sector, particularly in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if you are just joining us on the Smart Academic YouTube channel, consider subscribing to the channel and like this video, give this video thumbs up, and also share it with your colleagues and classmates as well. So we am with Ibrahim, who is a PhD student at the RMS University. We are talking about some of the challenges and some of the issues students face in Africa and Nigeria, being undergrad or postgrad students. So my next question would be that, taking a step back to your publication record, about 18 publication, and I'm still sure that there are still more in the pipeline before you call the PhD journey a final phase. So how have you been able to publish 18 articles? So considering that you started from your undergrad studies, 4 years in undergrad studies, 5 years, 1 in masters, and 3 years. That means that you are publishing like at least two articles from your first year. Or how do you do? How were you able to do that, to have such record?
Thank you. And I think that's a very question I need to be careful in responding to, because publication numbers now, it's really scarce and some people away,
Yeah.
really. So it's not just about the number of publication, the quality. And at some point in time, there are some number of publications that will become so suspicious. How come you have this number of publications within this limited
Time.
time into your career? So I'm also very careful about that as well. So to start with, my first paper was 2018. So even though I finished my bachelor's in 2016, it took us almost 2 years. I'm going
Yes.
to talk about the process as well in one of my slides. That's a lengthy process and you have to be patient. So it took us almost 2 years to get the paper out. So my first paper was September 2018. That was just before I moved to England for my master's. So that was what I have between 2018 and 2019. Unfortunately, my master's thesis, I made every attempt to publish, but my supervisor then wasn't in approval. And that's also another point. You can't do it alone. It's not just about you. So you need to put people into consideration. So it wasn't in approval of that, and I just have to respect his decision. And I had nothing for my master's. So when I start my PhD, I have just 2 publications, one for my bachelor's project and one from a collaboration during my master's. So that was the 2. Then between 2020 and now, when I started my PhD, I'm working in a very large research group. And because people also appreciate experience and knowledge, so for sure, I'm really happy, I'm really lucky that what I'll be doing is consistent in the field of pyrolysis. My bachelor's project was plastic waste pyrolysis, master's is hydrothermal liquefaction plus pyrolysis, now PhD in pyrolysis. So I can say I have almost everything about pyrolysis. And because we work in a similar research in my PhD, it's much more easy to contribute and collaborate actively with fellow researchers. And because I'm in Australia, most of us will do thesis by publications, which means even though it's not compulsory to publish before you graduate, if you want to do thesis by publication, it means you need some publications in your thesis before you can be going sent out for examination. So in our group, at least, we have more than 4 PhD graduates during the course of 3 years. So along the way, develop my contribution, I contribute actively, and I was able to collaborate with them and get out those number of publications. Out of the 18 papers, at least I have up to 6 first author. So, and out of the 6, 4 were for my PhD. So which means it's mostly for my PhD. The other 2 is from collaborations as well. And because I made the highest contribution, of course, I decided to I deserve to be the first author. So it's mainly from active collaboration, and I also work in a very large research training center. So which I'm developing my experience and also my contribution to their work.
That's really amazing. So that's within the period of completing your master's till now, that was when the publication levels just jump on. That's really cool. So another key point is working with a research group, a large research group. It's also very helpful that you have people working on different areas. You can come together also to collaborate and publish research papers. So one of such goals we wanted to achieve through this podcast is that undergrad students particularly, they should before the end of their studies, maybe it's 4 years or it's 5 years, we hope that they should be able to publish a paper, maybe even if it's a review paper. So, but this can be very challenging as an inexperienced student, as a person who have not done it before. So how do you approach collaboration? So how, like a student, as an undergrad student, okay, maybe I have this idea, or even I have had like a preliminary knowledge about how to go about writing a review paper, because review papers seem to be the easiest paper one can publish. So you don't need to work in the lab or collect a project data. You have all the data online. You have all the data in the literature. So it's now left for you to gather this and assemble it to be a old manuscript. So as a student, how like an undergrad student, what advice do you have for an undergrad student to approach collaboration? At the same time, even within the departments, I think most of us, we miss this opportunity. We don't see our teachers, or let me say our lecturers, as collaborators or potential collaborators. We tend to like have just a single focus, maybe with our project advisor alone, on just viewing the lecturers as a teacher, just teach me in the lab. We don't even think, only if you think, okay, what maybe I can even approach this lecturer working as a research assistant while even I'm in under level, or while I'm in 200 level. And that's before the end of the 4 years or 5 years, you might have like, the person might have like 2 or 3 papers. So what are those key advice you would give undergrad students in approaching collaboration?
Thank you, and that was a very good question, really. But I beg to differ on one of your points about the fact
Okay.
that review paper is much more easier than
No,
comment paper.
yes, I knew it's not easy,
So
but it just in the context of how it can be published. So for your project research, you still need to do like to get your results. You can publish maybe introduction alone. So, but review, you might not need to do any lab work
that's
or
right.
any some. So that is why I said it's easy, not easy. Sure.
Okay. The point I'm gonna make is by default, I'm not sure even any of us is qualified to write a review paper. Because to write a review, it means you have a broad understanding of that particular field, of that particular topic. So mostly it should be for professors or those who have substantial years of experience and research in that particular topic. So that's one. By the way, that doesn't mean again that you cannot write a review paper. Really, you can write a review paper. In fact, writing at times is more of art than science. It's more about some professors cannot even write as good as you are. Though they have the experience, they can spot out when the content is invalid because they know what you're saying. But in terms of writing expression, most of us can even do far better than them, right? So when it comes to writing, you can write really well. But for you to write something valid and something up to date and relevant, you need to read a lot. So I will go to your first question of how do we collaborate as undergraduate students. Then we'll come back to issue of how to start writing a review paper. So how do you collaborate as undergraduate students? That's a very important question. So because most of us, we tend to only focus on, I just want to get this thing done and move on, really.
Yep.
But now, with more knowledge coming on board and more people sharing the experience, I think it's good that we align ourselves with global standard, really. It's always very helpful to have a publication for your graduate journey, particularly if you want to pursue your graduate degrees. Having a paper is very helpful. Really, it says some things about you. So how do you approach collaboration? Please consider your fellow students, first of all. So your fellow students, most of you, when you are assigned to a particular professor as project student, it's usually more than 2, 3, up to even 4, depending on how large the department is, usually about 4 to 6 students to one particular lecturer. So it's always a good point. That's a good point to start collaboration. Because at the end of the day, you observe that the professor will give you similar topic to work on. Maybe they'll just change your feedstock, or they'll change your temperature, you change your pressure, or change one parameter, just to make sure all of you do something similar. Because that particular professor just have a very tiny area of research. So he has to just get something for you guys to work on. So that's the point to collaborate. And at the end of the day, you observe that if you have to do your own work, whatever you get out, it might not be substantial enough to make a paper. But by the time you put the whole together, you change your temperature, you change pressure, you change feedstock, that's the whole research on its own, which can be very meaningful if you put your efforts together and get it out. So again, start from your fellow students. And don't forget, your professor are also in need of publication. So I'm not sure there will be any particular lecture you discuss your intention of publishing your work with, and they'll be like, no, it's not possible. No, don't get out of my office. It doesn't work like that. They also need these things. They always be very enthusiastic to hear your plan about publication because they need it as well. There is no way you're going to publish without their name on it, right? So don't be scared to approach them and discuss your plan with them. I think this work is really interesting, and I'm more than happy to expand the scope because I intend to get a paper out of this. They are there, they have the experience, they'll be, oh, good, they are really happy, but you need to put yourself forward. It's more about you rather than them. So they need to see that from you before they can believe in your strength. Yes, you can do it, and you go for it. So it's at a point you need to first of all be convinced this work, I want to make a part of it. Then I want to do something substantial. The scope must be something that can get the valid result from. You can collaborate with your fellow student to make it work, discuss with your professor. That will also be very helpful. Then in unlikely events that your experiment, the result doesn't make sense, we keep saying that we don't have good results. I mean, good result is a result on its own. What is not good about the result? It means what? It doesn't match your expectation. If that's what we mean by not good result, bad result, means it doesn't match your expectation. Or maybe if your method is faulty, that's another case entirely. your method is verified, you're doing the right thing, but you're getting something out of the blue moon, which is not what you expect, and that's a result on its own. You can also just do more investigation to understand why it happens and report it out. Let's call it, there are lots of journals out there. There are 1 million journals out there, more than that out there. It's just a matter of trying to know your standard at this point in time. I'm not looking for 10, 20 impact factor, 80 impact factor paper. Okay, this is what I've done. If it's just a local paper, it's give you that level of satisfaction. Yeah, you did something, your work is out there, people are reading it. It's really helpful. That motivation of getting my project published actually make me to enjoy writing papers, and it gives me that sense of motivation and encouragement. So start from your fellow students, particularly within the same professor. If you're working with the same professor, also engage your professor alongside, let him know your plan, so they can always guide you that, okay, if you want to publish, you need to include this particular parameter or to expand this particular scope, and be responsive, be happy to do the extra work needed. Then in terms of literature review, if you're unable to get good results out of your bachelor's and your experimental work, you want to resort to writing. So I think the first way you know if you're a good writer is from your literature review, your chapter 2 of your thesis. If someone should read your chapter 2 of your thesis and it makes sense to them, and they run through plagiarism check, it's not giving them 98% similarity index, it means that's a really good starting point, because that's a required chapter of your thesis, literature review. Even though the format might be slightly different if you want to write a review article, but it's a good starting point, right? Because that's when you set up the whole, you take your key points one after the other based on your topic, and you dissect them based on what has been done in this area, what is missing, and what are you now doing now. So if you can have very good literature review, let someone also read it for you and assess it for you. I think it can be a good starting point to convert a literature review to a small review article, no matter how big or small your project is. Yeah, so collaborate with your fellow student in the same group. You can put your review article, your review chapters together, or literature review chapters together, and write a manuscript out of it, and give it to a senior colleague to review for you and put it in a proper shape.
Yep. That's great. So before we move on, before you present what you have for our viewers today, I think I see I have like 3 more questions, but I would like to condense it because of the time.
Okay.
So one just to this previous question I asked about collaboration. So before, I want you to maybe talk about collaboration before you even reach the final year for your project. So that's the key areas I want you to attend to. How can the students approach collaboration, and how can you even prepare yourself for publication? Maybe as undergrad students, as so many people just think of those years before you reach your final year is just about reading and writing exams, nothing out, or no any innovation, nothing you are doing about or what you don't even have any interest of what you really wanted to pursue. So it's really understandable, but how can the students approach collaboration even within his department or even more than that? So, and what are those advice you would give a person, a new student, a new undergrad student, maybe from very first year? What are those key things you wanted to advise a person who has interest in publication, has interest in academic research? What are those advice you give such a person from the first very year? And the last question would be what is the advice you give your younger self when you are to start out in your academic, you want to start out academic career from the beginning again? Maybe you wanted to start from the very low phase again. You want to start out on your undergrad studies again. What are those advice you give to your younger self? Yes.
All right, thank you. A lot of questions here. I will try my best to attend to them. The first one is, how do you even start the idea of collaboration even before you reach your final year, which is where you undertake your project? So the whole idea of collaboration, most of us actually we do it, but maybe we are not aware, we don't see it as a collaboration. Because the way I see us in undergrad, we move in clique or we move in groups. We have people we identify with. We have some lecturers that we consider our buddy or our friends, our close allies. So that is where you can even begin your collaboration. but we don't see those relationships as opportunities for collaboration. So it's high time we'll be very specific about who we relate with and who we move with, because that can be the point for collaboration. Your professors, your level advisor, which are usually one of our closer, or even your course advisor, depending on what you call it in your school, are really the first set of people you engage with. Most of them are really young. They are not like the old guys. They are still young. They are vibrant. They understand what it means to be I don't want to say desperate, but to be enthusiastic for papers. So they're also looking for papers, but they want to also go through their career as well. So it appears like it's a mutual win-win situation if you can take advantage of the opportunity. Some of them have draft of paper just lying on their desk because they are just too much engaged with other admin work and teaching and research load. So they are looking for students who are willing to take up their drafts, polish it, write up a particular section, and from there they are more than happy to for sure, if you have make a contribution, you deserve to be an author on a paper. So it's more about asking for those opportunities. You can't sit back and expect them to ask you, oh, do you want to do this? No, it's about putting yourself forward. Oh, Engineer Ibrahim, do you have any paperwork you're working on? I'm really looking at doing this and that. Or this is a draft of paper I had in my head. Can we make something out of it? So at times it's about asking first, right? So you ask first because they feel they have less to get from you. So they usually don't ask you. Unless you ask them, then okay, I think I can get something from this guy. Let me use him, or let him come on board with me in this journey. So please use your relationship, take advantage of those relationships, and enter into collaboration even before your final year. And whilst you are doing that, it's much more easier to work with that same person in your final year project, because it can even lobby you to get you as his project student, and which makes everything easy. You've built the relationship from start. Your final year project will be much more straightforward. It will respect your ideas. If it's okay, I want you to work on this project, and I think I have a better project I have in my mind, and I got something from my IT, I want to work on this. It's going to give you that opportunity to work on what you want to work on. But because you don't build this relationship with them, they don't trust you. That's why they have to impose on you what they think they want you to do. And at the end of the day, you don't connect the interest. So please start from your friends and your level advisors and those younger lecturers in your faculty or your department. As a new student, how do you prepare yourself for publication even before you get to your final year? Again, everything still falls back to the way we will take our studies. Most of us, in fact, I can say we already have potential manuscripts even before we graduate, but we don't see them as one. Some of them is assignments, group work. I don't know in other departments, but I know in my own case, we have a lot of assignment given to us, a lot of group work, design projects. They will ask you to design a plan to do this. That's just maybe tiny fraction of a course, or even for formative assessment. And really, most of us go extra mile to actually do very serious work in some of these assignment or coursework, as we call them in other climes. So these are potential manuscripts that you can expand further on and get something out of it. So always take your assignment serious. Don't be the type of student like, hello, have you finished your own? Please give it to me. Let me just copy and paste and get this out. I don't want to waste my time on all of these things. No, please take your assignment serious. Take your project serious. It is from there you will see potential manuscript that comes up for publication, because you know this is your hard work, this is your original work, and the content is more than enough, or you can expand it a bit to make a publication. So take your assignment serious. Again, read. You have to read. So by the time you read, you get aware of what is out there and how you can potentially convert an assignment or a particular idea into a manuscript, and you move on from there. I think that answers your first two questions. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, the last question is about advice to myself. Oh,
Yes.
I have a lot of advice for myself because when I look back, at times, just for my personal goal, I will take my particular thesis, I will read all the problem. There are 20 in the publication. I'm like, Ibrahim, you wrote this? Oh my, what were you thinking when you are writing this? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That is an indication of growth.
Good. Yep.
It means you've seen that, no, this is not, you can do better, come on. And that's always, everyone must have the same feeling. Like, okay, I think I've not done something great. You can do better. So I feel if I had the opportunity to go back with this my parents, I think I will get all my work published, and I will be a better version of myself. So advice to myself is writing. I can do better in writing. Now I know much of the rules. I know the game. I know the format. I know. So it's much more easier now to write than some 5, 6 years back. So and again, I think now I know more people. So when you have more network opportunities, you know more people to reach out to. Then I was just by myself, really. Some of these I would say I didn't use them really. I didn't use some of these things I was saying, like I'm connecting with level advisor or those young lecturers. I didn't use them, and I have the opportunity because I was a good student in my department. So most of the lecturers, they really like me. But I would never use the opportunity to ask them if they have something they want me to be involved in, or they have some extra work they want me to do for them. Even just coding, using some software to compute results for them. It's a skill. It's something you're learning, right? So when you get closer to these guys, don't just take it as just you're just catching fun or it's an opportunity. Take advantage, learn from them. If it's just Excel, you learn by just computing results or helping them to mark assignments. It's a skill on its own. So please, students currently now, take advantage of this opportunity. I wish I can do some of these things. I think I'll be in better position right now.
That's really great. So the key nugget from Ibrahim's advice and his tips from those answer to the question is, one, as undergrad students, you should prepare yourself ahead that you are going in for a serious studies, not that you are going. This also boils down to your interest. No, some also see that, okay, it's just reading, it's just going there to get certificates. So here we are addressing students who really wanted to go into academic research. They wanted to have a career in academia, or they want to have names to their names on publication. So you prepare yourself that, okay, these really what you wanted to achieve. And one of those ways you can prepare yourself is, one is knowing which areas each of your lecturers the interest, research areas of your lecturers. So you're able to align yourself, okay, this is a person I would like to collaborate on. This is a person I would like to move closer to. So you know that each of your lecturers has different research area. Not every one of them is doing something you really enjoy. Maybe you are in biology department or something of such. Maybe you wanted to work on something on disease. You know that, okay, this is the lecturer I need to collaborate on. This is the lecturer I need to move closer to. And again, when you approach collaboration, it's not about you telling a person frankly, direct face that, okay, I want to be working with you to have a paper like that. No. So you start the collaboration on a mutual basis on you offering them a service. And one way you can offer them a service is you also have like a skill. So it could be that data analysis itself. So even in this world, in this era we are, data is a skill that everyone must have. So like myself, the first paper I have is not even with my lecturer. It's just a person in another school. Then I approach him about just helping him to analyze his results. And that's how I had my first publication. So you approaching your lecturer, okay, what are those, and what are those things you need help on? What can I offer to you? It can even be something related to academia first, not research. Maybe you help them to mark, or you help them to do something of such. But as time goes on, you start to nurture that relationship, and they will also be and they will also be willing to support you. So that's really very, 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 very essential. Not that collaboration alone or academic publication, their relationship will also be very beneficial to you on later on. Maybe you are pursuing, you wanted to enter into grad school, or you are applying for a scholarship, you always need a recommendation letter. All this is very essential. Not that, so some students just keep the relationship with their lecturer until the last final year. So some of them, even some students may just pass along on the same walkway with the lecturer and just throw away their eyes, nothing with them. So, but here you see your lecturer as a potential collaborator. You see them as a potential person, as a person you wanted to achieve a goal with. So you start nurture that relationship. That's very, very essential. So so now Ibrahim wanted to give us a brief presentation on what he has prepared for us about some tips So I think this should be very short about some tips you can take towards publishing your first paper. So
Yeah,
you
thank
can
you.
go on.
I think I've said everything I wanted to say in the presentation because I'm sure I've covered a broad concept.
Yep.
So I will still quickly brush through them. If there might be new points not, for whatever reason, not covered.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, please allow me sharing.
Yes, you are allowed.
Okay, good now. Thank you. Okay, yeah, it was just prepared out of rush
Okay.
because I don't mean to pay a standard
Mm.
PowerPoint. I need to hide this. Yep,
Mhm.
hide. All right, so most of them are points we've discussed, but I'll still quickly brush through them. They are really important points to take note of. One, good writers are readers. Really, we are different. So if you know yourself, you are not good at writing. For me, right from primary school, I think I know I'm a good writer because I used to get very good feedback when I write essays. This is good, this is outstanding, well done, keep it up. Even though I was in science class, I think I used to still lay down, take the first position, English language in my secondary school. So good writers are readers. You need to read a lot. So read. If you don't read, you don't know what exactly you need to write. So, for example, for publications, our research, as its name implies, research, there is nothing new you're doing. So you need to rely on what others have done. And how do you rely on what others have done? You have to read their work. You have to read their work. So you need to read, and read to be a good writer. Develop genuine interest in the choice of a research project or topic. I think I've highlighted this as how I was able to connect my research project to a situation I saw when I was doing my national service, internship. So most of us see some of this opportunity, but we never take them serious. We never think that could be a way research could be helpful to solve this problem. So always be observant and take genuine interest in the choice of a project. And again, don't be scared to suggest your project topic to your professor. Really, don't be scared. Most of us are scared, not because they are not ready to listen to us, but we are scared to just, I think I have this particular topic in mind. They might not, I'm not good in this particular area, but they are willing to bring someone on board to help you out. So always go to suggest something. But if you suggest, it means you really have genuine interest and you're not going to disappoint them at the end of the day, and you keep to time and you are going to graduate in time as well.
I think before you move on, it's very, very crucial that students take the period of SciWest or IT as it's being referred to as very serious, because most of us do see this period as just a serious to just flex in quotes, just is maybe especially just going just to mark attendance or just to submit the work is it work log or what's it called logbook. So logbook. So this is what people just do during this phase. Rather, even do another thing is you should also take your IT or SciWest in where that's in line with your interest. So some people follow the crowd, okay, especially maybe students that they are not studying in their in their state of origin, or so maybe they have some allies together that okay they are living together, and they are also very unfortunately they are also in the same department. Where are you doing your thesis, your SciWest? Everyone just go and submit their letters. So you should align that, okay, you're in engineering, this is where you should do, okay, I have interest in pyrolysis or converting of feed to this using of bio or materials like this. You know where you should go. So I think this is very, very essential. And again, is students should talk, we should learn to open our mouths. So now that even this all these are project advisors, because of their let me say because of their experience, maybe students don't ask for research topic their own, so they are the one usually recommending. So they've taken it as a custom. But if you have something in mind you wanted to work on, then it's very essential that you talk, okay, can we work on this, can we do this? I think it's very, very is a very essential point students should note.
And that particular point is going to be very helpful in your graduate career, because by the time you start your master's or PhD, you are going to drive your work by yourself. Anyway, so the real point of taking genuine interest in your work is when you go out there, you have some break out of the normal academic rigor. You're able to connect with the reality out there. And once you connect with reality, you see problems. There are a lot of problems out there, which you think research can be a way you can find solution to it. So when you're out there, you know a lot of problems out there, and you are in particular in the working industry, you see a lot of issues or challenges they have, and you can go back to the classroom or to your lab and find a way to help them out. So take opportunities serious, particularly IT opportunities or industrial attachments. The next point is think about the impact. So what exactly are you trying to do? These days now, research is going beyond just do it for doing sake. Let's just do it to get people. It's about the impact. What exactly am I trying to achieve? What is the point? Am I trying to solve waste problem? Okay, it's waste problem you're trying to solve. You are trying to create a new material. You are trying to create a vaccine. You are trying to think about the impact. By the time you have the impact in your mind, the story will just come out naturally because you know exactly what your end users, who are your target users, and how do you get them? How do you get across to them? So having the impact of the research is really helpful to write. When you're writing your manuscript, the story and the expression will be so clear, and you know exactly where you're going. This point, I've talked about it, and I'm going to emphasize it again. Your methodology matters. Develop your methodology in line with acceptable standards. So you can't conduct your research in isolation as if you are not aware of what is happening out there. No, you need to be able to situate your research in the context of the global community. So that's why you need to read, and read to know exactly what is out there and how can your own research be in line with what is out there. So your methodology, please develop in line with acceptable global standard and have a template in your mind when writing. So when you read to say certain extent, anytime anywhere you just see that paper in your head, you just have that paper in your mind. Okay, this is the paper I'll have as a template. So the way they first start is introduction. Okay, they talk about history of this particular material. They move to the uses. They move to this. They move to that. So once you have a template in your head, when you are writing becomes much more easier. At least it works for me. At a point, I have a particular manuscript in my head, and I know exactly, I follow the format, I follow the steps, and it was really helpful, particularly for my first paper anyway. So always have a template in your mind when you read it. And that's why you need to read a lot and be able to distinguish really good paper from good papers. Some people are really, really good papers. Yes. And they're able to communicate their findings in a very easy language, which you're able to understand. And even with your level of knowledge as undergraduate student, you can read some papers and understand and use that paper as a template to write your own. So don't be discouraged. You can use some papers, you don't even get one good thing out of it. It's because the language is very technical. At that level, you don't have understanding of some of those key points or keywords you don't understand. You have to keep going back to your dictionary to understand what they're saying. Don't be discouraged. Keep reading. You see one very good paper, the same concept, but in a very easy language, and use that as a template when you are writing your paper. Next few points here is yes, outline. Outline is also similar to the previous point. Have an outline of your manuscript before writing. Like I said, in my own case, everything I know about that paper I used to write. That's an outline. So if I know anything about introduction, go to introduction section, one paragraph about this material, write everything I know. Forget about referencing at this point. So once you write everything you know about that paper, that is your original idea. Then you can now go out there and complement whatever you have there with what others have put in their own work. So having an outline helps you a lot, particularly for manuscript. For your thesis, we already know that we need to write in the introduction, literature review, methods and materials, results and discussion, then conclusion. But even introduction is a big deal. Introduction, you need specific outline for introduction. Like in paragraph, in this paragraph, I want to talk about this. This paragraph talk about this. So you can build your story in a logical and coherent manner. So that's very important. Importantly, publication is a lengthy process. And for the beginner or first timer, it can be tough. It can be tough. If you understand how it works, just imagine someone came to you and say, okay, I have a manuscript I submitted. I'm making a point, a claim that this particular method works. The first I'm going to check is what's your track record? Okay, have these guys done something similar before? And I put your name out there, I couldn't find anything about you. So I'm going to have a doubt about this work, right? So that's how it is very tough for first-timer beginners. As you keep writing, you are building trust in the research community. And anytime they see your work, they know this guy is an expert in this area. We don't need to scrutinize his work so so much. So for first-time or beginners, we scrutinize your work. And that's why it can be very tough. You can submit, get rejected, submit again, get rejected, or even your supervisor will not even believe in you or will not trust your idea. So that's why building that relationship helps a lot. If you can't gain the trust of your supervisor, trust me, I don't think you can go anywhere in any publication journey, because those guys out there, they don't even know you. The editors there don't know you. The reviewers don't know you. So, and your supervisor don't even trust your work. I'm not sure any other person can trust your work. So it can be very lengthy process and be challenging, but persevere and go through the process. It's a learning process. The first few ones can be very challenging, but afterwards, I'm sure for sure you get better over time. More importantly, you can't do it alone. I'm going to share a story here. You can't do it alone. Have an open discussion about your plan with your supervisor. And that's why my master's thesis didn't get published, was because of this. Before I talk to this professor, I'm really passionate because I published my bachelor's. I want to continue in that spirit. So I want to publish my work. If personally that this work is not there is own standard, is 1 year of work, it's enough to make a paper. That okay, my whole project was just for 6 months. So by its own standard, it's not enough to be a paper. And I said, fine, you're a professor, I understand, I'm still a student, I need this paper. Okay, if you are not happy, can I go ahead and publish? He said, if you want, but that was verbal conversation. So I prepared the manuscript, I prepared the manuscript, put him as acknowledgement because I have to acknowledge him being my supervisor. Now, unfortunately, submitted the paper to the journal. You know a very funny thing? When I got a feedback from the journal, they said there's an authorship dispute on this paper. So the first person my mind went to was that particular professor. I said, "Kai, I'm in trouble." Now, and I sent an email, "Hi, Professor Charles and Professor Chris, something like this happened." He said, "What you did was foolish and unethical." That the paper got back to him because I put the affiliation of the school there, and I have to disclose that this was part of my master's thesis. Because if you have put as a thesis, you need to disclose if you want to publish as a manuscript. This is part of my master's thesis. So I think the editor's wisdom, they thought master's thesis, and there is no supervisor's name
on the authors.
on the author's list. So I think it got back to the school, and it was one that said there's authorship dispute. And so again, this is to tell you that it's not, you can't do it alone. No matter how smart you are, please, some of these decisions can have very great ramifications on your career when it comes to publication, because this is something you're putting out to the public. And once you get to the public, it's taking it back, it's difficult. Just like your words as well. Before you say it, think about before you say. Once you say them, you can't take it back. So publication is not a journey you can do alone. You have to consult your supervisors, and please acknowledge everyone that's contributed to the work. And make sure your acknowledgement or their consent is a written consent, not a verbal consent, because verbal consent is not tenable anywhere. So anybody that have contributed to the work, acknowledge them, seek their consent if they want to be co-author. If they say no, they are not willing to be co-author, let them put it in writing via email or anything. And particularly your supervisor, you can't publish your thesis without your supervisor. That's the story. That's the story, end of story. You can't publish your thesis without your supervisor. If it's your other work out of your university affiliations, it's fine and good. Next point is team up and collaborate. Yes, again, you are so good that you want to publish a paper as a single author. In fact, it has very negative connotation than the positive connotation. It means you are not a good team player. You are not reliable. You think you know a lot, so to the extent that nobody else can make an input or correct your work. So it's not really something great in the research field, in the academic field, to just be a single author on a paper. No, it doesn't work like that. And that's why generally you see on the paper, you see 3, 4, 5 authors. That doesn't mean they have not done anything. It just shows that a lot of people have put their expertise into it, and the paper is of high standard as you expect. And research these days are cross-disciplinary, cross or multidisciplinary. You in biology can think of something. There is always something you can put in a paper, no matter your discipline. So it's a matter of don't tell, okay, I'm in biology, I can't do any so much. If it's maybe microbial analysis, in biology, and someone is trying to do some experiment in anaerobic digestion of chicken manure, say for instance, and microbial analysis, let's put this particular aspect into the paper. It's gonna be a great one, trust me. So think of collaborating even outside your discipline. There are a lot of great work going out there which your expertise is really required. Particularly those of us in engineering, we are not a good scientist. So we want people from fundamental science to come in and help us, tell us what is really happening. We are good at designing instruments and designing processes. So the always way to team up and collaborate. Last but not the least, you need to understand the process. Because if you don't understand the process, you don't know what exactly it entails and what you need to do. So understand the process. So what is even publication? We are saying publication, publication, publication. What is it? It's a lengthy process and it involves several stages. Several stages. I just start from manuscript writing. I think manuscript writing is not even the first stage of publication journey. Yes. The first stage is the ideas, building up the ideas. Yes. So it could be, okay, you want to write a review paper in this particular topic, you need to set it up based on the content, the outline, or you want to do an experiment, set up the instrument, write up your results. So manuscript writing is the first, and to write up on your manuscript, you need to understand a lot of things, your audience, the journal you want to consider. So the journal has a particular audience in mind or has a particular scope in mind. So you need to write a manuscript to suit the requirement of that particular journal. Authorship. So who are you going to work with in this particular paper? What is going to be the arrangement of the authors on this paper? Who made the highest contribution? At times, there's always conflict between students and their supervisors. I see that a lot in Nigerian space, academic space, whereby supervisors take the work of their students and they publish and they put themselves as first author without, at times, if they are good to you, they might even give you a second authorship position. If they are very callous, they will not give you anything. Both ways is really unethical. Either ways is unethical. You can't take student paper and put your name there. If I told they want to do that, it's either they seek your consent. Whatever your name is, your paper is so good, I want to use a manuscript. Are you interested? For sure, I'm not sure you can say no, you're not interested. But if you say you are not interested, that's fine. At least your consent has been sought and you say you're not interested and you went ahead to publish because as a supervisor, you have contributed to the work in one way or the other. So you can publish with your consent anyway. So authorship is a very big deal. And please, it's really important. You don't want to start your publication journey with a bad record or with a dent because it means a lot. So before you put out a paper there, think carefully. Because when you retract any paper that you have published, it's put a dent on your image. And anytime you submit another paper, we always check, okay, this person is not trustworthy. There will always be an issue. And you don't want that to start your career. It's too early to be having issues with authorship or publication journals. Submission, how do you submit? It's a whole lot. Each of these can be another episode of discussion on their own. And I think I would like the facilitator or the organizer to look at taking each of them one after the other to take them through the process. Yes. It's a very lengthy process. Submission, peer review. Now you get your peer review. How do you handle your decisions? It could be revisions. It could be declared rejection. It could be acceptance. Then after revisions, you need to proofread the final version before it finally gets online. And after publication, then what else? What does it mean? Are you going to make money from it? I don't think so. So don't think when you publish, you make money by people reading your work. Not in all cases, except if your work is commercialized. Then it depends on who owns the IP. So based on who owns the IP, you can get money from it. But again, for your work to be commercialized, it has to get to a certain stage. So in most instances, more than 98% of people, there's no money. There's no money on it. It's just for your record and for your profile building as someone interested in research and in the academia. I think I might have done justice to the points I have with me, and I will let you undo the rest. Thank you.
That's really great. We are very, very glad and very happy to have you joining us on this very episode of the Beginner's Guide to Academic Publishing. This is a good time to spending with you this evening, Ibrahim. It has been a whole lot talking about how students advise and tips, and also how to approach publication. So I think a point that I'll also reiterate once again is that don't ever make the decision of publishing your paper alone. That is, you go ahead and say that you want to publish. So it can be very challenging sometimes that you might approach your supervisor, okay, let's do this, but your supervisor is not really interested. Maybe because your work is not of a good quality from the inception. So your methodology is not, you don't do the work really well. So your supervisor just manage you maybe because of just getting you to complete your studies, not that you just to get something and go away. But you might think that, okay, this is a work you can publish, and you are pushing that, and your supervisor is just going in the other direction. So you might be tempted that, okay, let me just go and do this myself. So I think I also explained the same, but I happen to approach a lecturer who is very close to us that, can I do this myself? Can I publish? He said, never try it. So don't ever try it, please. You going ahead and publish your work. Don't think that your supervisor is not going to know or something of such. They are more experienced than you. They are more smarter than you. You surely have a problem. That's very certain, because that's just your first experience, and you have some loopholes that you don't feel very well. So don't make that step of publishing your paper alone. Even aside that is not really something very positive in the academic community, that as a sole author, except you might have reached a very high peak in your career, that, okay, you can now say that I want to have the solo papers. So it's a very interesting discussion tonight. I hope that our viewers would have gotten some one point or the other, and at the same time would also build up on this discussion with other guest speakers. So this is the first episode in the Beginner's Guide to Academic Publishing by the Smart Academics. If you are just joining us on the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends and colleagues. Before we draw up the curtain, my final question is, who do you suggest that we invite next for the next episode?
I think that would depends on what you're looking at, what's your focus for the next episode. And yeah, based on that, we'll think of who we think is the best fit for that. So what's the next episode like?
Yes, the next episode will be, I think it should be on dissecting more on the manuscript writing. Maybe it shouldn't be more of a discussion as we have it now. Maybe some key, like having a very good presentation on, okay, in introduction, these are the key points you need to address. These are that. I think that should be the next focus.
The next focus. And I think that's really important, because here now we keep saying a lot of stuff.
So, yeah.
It's not be like, fine, it's easy to say then than to write. So take us through the steps, which is really the big deal in anything. But again, when it comes to writing, it always differs from discipline to discipline.
Yes.
And as well as well, are people going to get a lot if you're looking at maybe engineering discipline? I want to give an introduction template, what you should look at and what you should not look at. So it's a bit dicey there, but for sure you need to look at someone that has very diverse research experience, that can talk to both different sides of field, and people can have very good understanding of, at least have an idea of what is required in their field. I don't have anybody in mind right now, but for sure I can scan through my network.
Okay.
And maybe I can suggest 1 or 2 persons to you.
Okay, that's really great. So by now, these are the end of these first episode in the Beginner's Guide to Academic Publishing. If you have any other question for our guests, please drop it down in the comments below. If you have any question, or you wanted to even to have further discussion, just comment on what you've seen in this first episode. What do you want us to improve on, or you even have suggestion of who should be our next guest speakers? We'll be very glad to read from you. So stay tuned for other coming episodes coming up next week, and we are dedicating quite a numbers of couples of weeks to this topic about publication, about writing, and related topic. So don't forget to subscribe to the Smart Academic YouTube channel, share these videos, give us thumbs up, and like it with like the video as well. So thank you for joining us on this very first episode. We appreciate our guest Ibrahim. We appreciate your time, and we hope that next time we invite you, you'll be glad to join us on the channel as well. So see you next week for another episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. I appreciate it.